Welcome back. Remember how we mentioned the round-robin approach? Round-robin is just one strategy that is used for what's called load balancing. Load balancing is a fairly advanced topic, and you could make entire courses about it. But it's such an important topic when it comes to building backends that you'll gain a lot just from being introduced to this concept early. Load balancing is basically a way of distributing or dividing a set of tasks to a set of resources. For example, dividing which requests will be handled by which processes if you have a cluster of worker processes for your server. When we talk about load balancing, we use what's called a load balancer to determine how, for example, our requests should be divided among the different processes handling them. The load balancer is what takes requests from users and distributes them so that the responsibility of handling those requests is shared by many different processes, or potentially many different applications or servers. For example, you could have two servers, two different machines, each running a set of processes that can handle requests. So you're balancing the load of requests both to two possible different servers and to many different processes inside of those servers. Load balancing applies when you're running multiple servers or processes in parallel, each handling the same kind of request, just like we saw in our example, using the same set of possible routes. You might hear load balancing talked about in the context of what's called horizontal scaling, where horizontal scaling is a fancy term for what we've been doing in our cluster. Rather than doing what's called vertical scaling, where we add more speed to our one node process, our one node server, by, for example, replacing our CPU with a faster one. That's vertical scaling. For horizontal scaling, we instead take our server, and it doesn't have to be super fast or big, but we grow or scale our application to handle more requests more quickly by adding more servers, or in the case of our cluster, more node processes. That's horizontal scaling and load balancing in a nutshell. The two most common strategies for distributing requests that are used by load balancers in the case that we have no prior knowledge about how long a request will take to complete, which is usually the case when we have servers with many different types of requests that can sometimes take longer and sometimes take much shorter. Well, when we don't have that rigid predictability, the two main approaches for load balancing are round robin, which we now have quite some experience with, and basically just randomized distribution of requests. Each new request is assigned to one of the processes at random. Believe it or not, these ridiculously simple algorithms for deciding which process should handle a request are actually the most effective when you don't have really good knowledge about exactly how long a request will take to complete. To summarize, in Node, we can use the cluster module to do load balancing of requests as they come in to our node HTTP servers. And the cluster module uses the round-robin approach to determine which process will handle those incoming requests. The requests, which are the load being balanced across your server. Just a little bit of theory to reinforce what we've been talking about. All right, I'll see you in the next one.